Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Money Matters Top Tips for Success, where each and every day I bring on new business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives and have them share their top tips for success with you. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at Ask Adam Torres to keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, moneymatterstoptips.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Dan Ringo on the line, and he is author of Airman to CEO, From the Boiler Room to the Boardroom. Dan, welcome to the show.
Hey, Adam, glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, man, I'm excited to get into this book, man. I know you got another one coming out, and I'm going to bring you back on the show for that. But when I heard about this book, Airman to CEO, From Boiler Room to Boardroom, I was like, no, we got to cover this one, Dan. So yeah. I want to get into it. But before we do that, I do want to go a little bit further into your background. So how'd you get started in your career?
Okay, so I got started in my career. I attribute it to joining the United States Air Force at age 20. I was a teenage father with no direction. And I was getting into a little bit of trouble here and there, and I really wasn't headed anywhere. And so I decided to join the military to pretty much begin that foundation for success. And I used the military and its teachings to propel me once I got out into a skilled trades apprenticeship program. And from there, I became a master at my skilled trade before using the GI Bill to go back and finish my bachelor's degree, and then going on to law school at Wayne State University Law School in Detroit. And from there, I've held several positions, moving up in the management ranks through executive positions all the way to COO before I began my own company in 2016 as a CEO. So I've had many positions. I've worked in executive positions in labor, organized labor, as well as frontline management through executive management, from vice president, senior vice president, chief operating officer of multi-million-dollar companies. And at one time, I was the chief operating officer and senior vice president of two companies simultaneously. They were owned by one master company, but I was assigned to run operations in both companies. So that gave me the confidence to start my own company.
Man, that's awesome. I love it. I think that's a great transition too. Let's get into this book. So Airman to CEO, From Boiler Room to Boardroom. So what was the inspiration for this book?
The inspiration was really being able to give people motivation and hope that they too could change their life. Now, I gave you a Reader's Digest of my background, and it really was condensed, but there was a lot of trials and tribulations that allowed me to pivot in several points in my life to allow me to continue on a path of success. So when many individuals who may have known me as that, unmotivated, poor student in high school, for people who knew me in the military working with skilled trades, to people who've seen me operating in maintenance with a school district, to individuals who may have seen me going back to school, to then now being in the newspapers, being on TV, receiving certain accolades, it was to give them a kind of the background journey of going through these various steps in my life that allowed me to push through, dealing with death, dealing with divorce, dealing with a lot of uncertainties and bankruptcies and things of that nature that typically stagnate individuals along their path, and how do you navigate those, and what mentality does it take to beat life when life tries to beat you up and to push forward to your goals for success.
Man, that's exciting. So I looked at, I've been looking through this book, and I mean, there's a lot of interesting stuff here. We're not going to have time to go over all of it today, but I would like to touch a little bit further on some of them. So, For example, Chapter 2, Anatomy of a Decision. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So when we look, I use the background of the military experience as a roadmap for individuals to go from point A to point B and beyond for success. And so the anatomy of a decision is, before you get ready to make a change, you have to decide not only what you want to change, but why you want to do it, and then how you're going to do it. So we kind of go through in that chapter the thought process that one needs to undergo when they're thinking about making a decision, and then what are the steps and action steps you need to do to kind of formulate that into a concrete action that you're actually going to take to get you off the square to move forward.
Oh, that's awesome. And so let's go through some more. So I mean, this one's pretty straightforward, but I want to see how you dealt with this. So dealing with doubt. So chapter 4, give us a little bit more there.
So I love dealing with doubt, because that is the thing that we really want people. When people hear my success story and they may listen to you, Adam, and they say, well, you know what, you Adam, you got it all figured out. You're a successful guy and you already know what it takes, but I'm not sure of myself. So what we do there is give some examples from my life where there were several times where I dealt with doubt in the moment, where you would see from the outside that it seems like I had everything together, but behind that curtain, the doubt I was dealing with, or whether or not I was worthy, whether or not I was competent, whether or not I had the capacity to achieve what I was undertaking. And so it's kind of giving a person the mental space of most people when they're achieving something that they've never done before. So how do you deal with that? How do you identify it? How do you personify it to make it real so you can address it and push through it?
What are some of the big takeaways that you hope that the readers that pick up this book are going to get from this? Like, what are going to be some of those aha moments that you hope they have?
Some of the aha moments is realizing that permanent change and meaningful change does not occur until the pain or fear of remaining the same is greater than the pain that change will bring. Once you have said, I cannot and I will not be in this position 1 week, 1 month, 1 year from now, that's when permanent and meaningful change starts to begin. So it really kind of gives you that my moment in my life when I had that experience, and it was a moment big enough for me to say, this will not be my life, and I made a declarative statement and action steps behind it. And then also that regardless, when you decide to make a change and you decide to change your life, that the roses do not pop up from the concrete and the sun does not automatically come out. Usually that's when life gets tougher. And that's when all the obstacles that you thought of and some that were unforeseen will come to you. And how do you realize those and know that that's part of the process, and that success is nothing but a test and progress is a process? How do you continue to identify and push through those things? So it's really to give that person to know that this is a journey, not a destination. And that's the main takeaway I want to take people to take away from this book. And it's less than 90 pages, so it's a very quick read.
That's awesome. So Dan, if somebody does want to pick this up, what's the best way for them to get it?
The best way to get it is available on Amazon. It's also available in audio through iTunes and Audible.com. It's available via Books A Million as well as Target.com. And for any international readers, it's available in Spanish and Portuguese through Babbel.
That's what I'm talking about. I love it, Dan. So, hey, Dan, it's really been a pleasure having you on the show. I mean, great catching up, and I'm excited for this book to dive into it, but also excited for all the new projects you have going on and that you're working on. So great stuff having you here. And to the audience, as always, thanks for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review on the Apple iTunes Store, do all those great things we do to support our podcasters. I really do appreciate it. And Dan, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you, Adam. Talk to you later.